My name is Emery. I'm 34 years old, and I'm currently the chief financial officer at a pharmaceutical company in Houston. All my life, I've been used to carrying the weight in silence, used to the comparisons, used to the obvious favoritism toward my younger brother, Nathan. But I never imagined they would do this right in front of dozens of people. My father's 60th birthday party was held in the Grand Mansion on the outskirts of Dallas, a place that had once been my childhood dream. Crystal chandeliers cast their light over tables filled with expensive dishes, glasses clinked, polite laughter filled the room. I thought I could endure it all, as long as there was at least a minimum of respect. But I was wrong. When my mother picked up the microphone, my father stepped into the center of the room, raised a car key with a shiny silver tag, and announced, "This gift is from Emery, to congratulate her brother Nathan on his new journey, a brand new SUV, one she bought just for him." The whole room applauded, every eye turned to Nathan. And I stood frozen, because that was the car I had just signed the contract for, with my own money, in my own name. Have you ever been betrayed by your own family in a way you could never have imagined? If you've ever been taken advantage of in the name of family, leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss stories like this, real and full of raw emotion. For me, that moment was only the beginning. And what happened afterward changed everything. I was still standing there, surrounded by clapping hands and admiring looks cast toward Nathan. He smiled broadly, striding up to take the keys from my father's hand, as if it really was a gift I had willingly given. Not one glance toward me, not one word of thanks. Everyone around the table lifted their glasses, celebrating, as if this were the obvious truth, as if I didn't exist. I felt my fists clench so tightly. My nails dug into my palms until it burned, yet my face stayed fixed with a faint smile. In that glittering room, filled with expensive perfume and dazzling lights, I was not allowed to be angry. Not here. Not in front of the relatives. Not while my mother stood nearby, smiling with satisfaction, and my father looked as if he had just won some great prize for proving his family was united and successful. "You really are the best sister ever," Nathan declared loudly, his voice booming through the speakers. He held the keys aloft toward the crowd as if accepting an award. "Thanks for always supporting me." I turned to the wine glass in my hand. The red liquid shimmered, reflecting the flicker of chandelier light mocking me. I remembered sitting in the bank for hours the week before, signing each page of the car purchase agreement with a mixture of nervousness and pride. That SUV was the one I had carefully chosen, the reward for 2 years of working weekends, for nights spent awake over corporate financial reports. I hadn't told anyone in the family. They had never asked. My mother stepped over, lightly placing her hand on my back, her voice soft enough for only me to hear. "Don't ruin the atmosphere. Everyone's happy. You already have another car, don't you? Nathan's starting over, he needs encouragement." I didn't respond, because if I did, my voice might break. She patted my back once more, then returned to the guests, waiting for her to pour more wine and boast about the accomplishments Nathan was destined to achieve. The things she believed just needed a little push and a little help from his generous sister to become reality. Richard, my father, stood in the middle of the room taking photos with Nathan and the gleaming keys. I heard him clearly. Family is about love and support. Emery's success doesn't make her forget her brother. That's the real value. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. That so-called real value had never once included me. I was only the silent pillar they built everything upon. All through my childhood, I was the easy child. No demands, no complaints. When Nathan was suspended for fighting, I was the one who called the lawyer, who paid the fees. When my mother had minor heart problems, I rearranged my schedule to take her to appointments for 6 weeks. And when I earned a major financial scholarship in college, They only asked if I could send some of the money home to help with expenses. Quietly, I pulled my phone from my pocket, opened my banking app, and scrolled to the most recent payment. An $18,000 down payment, along with the approved loan contract signed less than 10 days ago, all in my name. And yet, in just one evening, with a few elegant lies, that car had been turned into a gift for the very person I had been propping up my entire life. I slipped my phone back into my bag and walked out of the banquet hall. The yellow light in the hallway stretched endlessly. I went straight to the backyard, where the lights didn't reach. The cool night air hit my face and let me breathe again. A few minutes later, I heard footsteps. It was Lauren, my cousin, the only one in the family who had ever stood by me on those rare occasions. She sat beside me on the stone steps, tilting her head. "Emery, that car, it's real? You just bought it?" I nodded. "Signed the papers last week." She was quiet for a moment. "Your mom told everyone you agreed to give it away." "Of course she did. So, what are you going to do now?" I looked up at the sky, where the stars sparkled, indifferent to everything below. "Do you remember the house up north? The cabin at Arrowhead Lake?" Lauren frowned. "The one we used to visit in the summers?" "Yes. Grandma always said she'd leave it to me. But last week, a lawyer friend told me my parents are working on transferring it to Nathan." Lauren's eyes widened. "They didn't say anything to you?" I shook my head. Since the day our grandparents passed, everything seemed predetermined, except I was never told. We sat in silence, the breeze rustling through the trees. I thought about the car, about Nathan's expression when he received it. So natural, as if life had always been laid out for him. I thought about my father, who valued appearances more than truth. I thought about my mother, who could cry over a disagreement but saw nothing wrong in forging her daughter's decisions to make it up to her favorite son. Lauren squeezed my hand. "Emery, you don't have to go through this alone." I looked at her, warmth flickering inside me, only to fade quickly. I'd heard those words before, many times. Yet when it mattered, I was always the one standing alone. "Lauren, if someone keeps taking from you without asking, without thanking, would you call that love?" She hesitated. "Number," I nodded. "Neither would I." I stood, brushing off my dress. Inside, the lights still blazed. Laughter spilled through the glass doors. I glanced back at that room, at my father, my mother, Nathan, then turned and walked into the darkness. Back then, I didn't know how far things would go. But one thought had begun to take shape. Maybe the best way to protect what's mine is to make sure they never get the chance to touch it again. I can't remember exactly when I first learned to stay silent, but maybe it started at Nathan's 10th birthday. That day, our small house in suburban San Antonio was decorated like a mini banquet hall. Navy balloons, a 3-tier fondant cake, a hired clown, even an ice cream truck. My mother rushed around with her little camera, capturing Nathan's every smile as if he were the center of the universe. I was 16 then, holding an invitation letter for a scholarship interview at a prestigious boarding school. I'd printed it out, placed it neatly in an ivory envelope, hoping for a chance to show my parents. But they were busy. Mom was arranging flowers, Dad was outside directing the tent crew. Nathan was showing off his new BMX drone to his friends. I stood there for almost 10 minutes, envelope in hand, then slid it back into my pocket, not because I gave up, but because I had learned my joy was never big enough to break into their conversations. When I received the full scholarship, I taped the notice to the fridge, right next to a shopping list for a cousin's engagement party. 3 days later, my mother took it down and replaced it with the menu for Nathan's 13th birthday party. Through 4 years of high school, I rode the bus home, while Nathan, at 11, already had a brand new BMX bike ordered from Chicago because he's at the age where confidence matters. When I left for college, my parents dropped me at the train station at 6 a.m. No hugs, no long goodbyes. My mother pressed $200 into my hand and said, "Spend carefully. money's tight at home. That was all they prepared for their daughter leaving for school. 2 years later, Nathan was sent off at the airport with brand new luggage, a new laptop, noise-canceling headphones, and a credit card, with the words, "If you need anything, just swipe it. Don't let yourself go without." I studied at a public university with a strong finance program. Mornings in the library, afternoons in class, evenings working at a cafe 3 blocks from my dorm. Some nights I washed dishes until 2 a.m., only to wake up for a midterm the next morning. When I called home to share that I had scored a perfect grade in risk management, the toughest course in the program, my mother only replied, "Oh, but Nathan just changed his major again. He's studying game design now, it suits him better." Suits him better. No one ever asked what suited me. I studied finance because it was the most secure path to support myself, because no one else in that house could help me down any other path. Once, I was hospitalized for 2 nights with acute gastritis. My mother video called, looked at me through the screen and asked, "So, you'll be back to class next week, right? It would be such a waste of your scholarship if you take time off." I didn't blame her. She had never known what it was like to scrape together tuition from part-time wages or to curl up in a restroom after a 10-hour shift but still avoid the hospital because of poor insurance coverage. And Nathan? 3 years of college, 4 different majors, never worked a single shift. When he was suspended for low GPA, my mother called me at midnight. Her voice choked. "Nathan is under so much pressure, honey. We're all counting on him, so please don't be hard on him." I didn't protest. I just sat in the dark, study materials on my lap, staring at the next tuition bill, wondering if I should pick up another Saturday shift. On my graduation day, the ceremony was held outdoors in the rain. My mother wasn't there, she was at a friend's daughter's wedding. My father sent me a text. "Congratulations, sweetheart." Nathan posted a photo at a Miami beach with the caption, "Searching for myself in the ocean, 200 likes." My mother shared it with a heart emoji. I landed my first job at a finance company in Austin, then moved to Houston when I was offered a position at Neurovita, where I'm now the chief financial officer after 6 years. No one in my family has ever visited my office. No one has ever asked me what I actually do for a living. But they remember the day I received an award, because Nathan grabbed the image from the company website and edited it into a post bragging about our talented family. My mother forwarded that post to relatives, adding, "Our eldest daughter is successful, and our youngest son is creative. 2 different paths, one success. One success." I've lost count of how many times in my life my effort was sliced in half, like a piece of cake, with part handed to someone who had done nothing to earn it. I endured it, thinking as long as things stayed calm, I'd have space to breathe. But the truth is, calm doesn't exist in a family where sacrifice is assumed and boundaries are erased the moment someone needs you. That birthday party, with the car declared to be a gift from me, wasn't the first shock. It was the final slap that truly opened my eyes. And maybe it was also the first time I asked myself, how long will I keep paying for things that don't belong to me? I left the backyard to return to the table once the night air had grown cold, heavy with the scent of perfume, wine, and something old pretending. The mansion still glowed with lights, laughter echoing as if nothing were wrong, as if no one had just been robbed in plain sight of what was supposed to be family. As soon as I stepped into the living room, I heard Nathan's booming voice. "Thank you everyone for watching. This brand new SUV is a gift from my sister, Emery Phillips, CFO, the most successful woman in our family. Always knows how to support her little brother at the right time." Laughter erupted from both the guests at the party and those watching Nathan's live stream. He was recording a video, turning the phone for a wide shot, his face clear with a smug smile. In his palm, the shiny key sparkled. I froze at the doorway. It was too late to save the truth. My phone buzzed. A message popped up. Jessica, deputy finance manager. Heard you've got a side hustle renting out luxury cars? Then another, Lucas, executive assistant. Wow, your brother knows how to do PR. That thank you video looked like an award ceremony. And one more, from Henry, our in-house lawyer and my closest friend. Henry, Emery, is that true? You gave him the car? I put the phone away and walked straight to the table meeting, every eye without flinching. Nathan was still chatting into his phone like the host of a talk show. When I stood right behind him, he hadn't even turned. I gently placed my hand on his thin suit jacket shoulder. Nathan finally turned, his smile lingering but his eyes hesitant. Do you have something to say to the viewers? He grinned, tilting the phone toward me. I kept my voice steady. Turn off the live stream. What? Turn it off. Now. He hesitated, then gave a strained laugh, lowering the phone. The room fell silent for several seconds. My mother looked at me sharply, as if I were ruining the party. My father set his glass down. What's going on? He asked, his voice quiet but tight with pressure. What's going on? I repeated, locking eyes with Nathan. What's going on is that car was never a gift. It's my asset. I bought it, it's in my name, paid monthly from my account. No one asked me, no one had permission, and no one has the right to announce it as some gift I never agreed to. Nathan burst out laughing, forcing ease. Come on, sis. It's just for fun, a little live stream. Don't take it so seriously. You lied in front of hundreds of people. I turned to my parents. And you two just watched, not saying a word, letting everyone believe I'm funding Nathan's so-called career. My father's brow furrowed. Lower your voice, not here. Then where? I asked. At your house? Or at the lawyer's office, where Mom is working on transferring Grandma and Grandpa's lake house to Nathan without ever telling me? A whisper rippled across the table. My mother gripped her napkin tightly, her lips trembling. You're making a scene at your father's birthday, Emery. You should know how to protect the family's image. I looked straight at her. For 34 years, I've protected the family's image. I've worked, sent money, paid debts, cleaned up messes, stayed silent whenever something was taken from me. But that so-called image was never my face. It was just the mask of endurance, trimmed neatly to fit your unreasonable expectations. My father slammed his hand on the table. Enough, you're disgracing us. Your brother needs encouragement. He's trying to find his way. You already have everything. What's wrong with giving a little? Everything, I echoed, eyes locked on him. Do you know how many opportunities I turned down, how many hours I worked, how many sleepless nights I endured to have what I do? None of you contributed a single dollar. Yet every time I gain something, it immediately becomes family property. But when I'm exhausted, when I need help, everyone turns away or says I'm too capable to need it. My mother blinked, eyes brimming with tears. She was good at that. Very good. I used to fear those tears, thought they were proof of love. But they weren't. They were tools of manipulation. You shouldn't say that, she whispered. I've always loved you. Love? I let out a small laugh. You loved me enough to use my name to register car insurance for Nathan without ever asking me. This time, the room went dead silent. Nathan's expression shifted. You really did that, Mom? He asked, uncertain. My mother said nothing. My father looked at her, then at me, his eyes darkening. I exhaled, pulled the napkin from my lap, and set it on the table. I don't need an apology. I'm not asking for the car back. But from this moment on, no one defines my kindness by their standards anymore. I'm grown enough to decide what's right for me, and if that makes me selfish, I'll accept it. I walked out. This time, no one stopped me. Behind me, laughter, toasts, the pop of camera flashes went on, but all of it faded like echoes from a world I no longer belonged to. I reached my apartment after midnight, heels dangling from my hand, the soles of my feet burning like my throat. The party had ended, but in my mind, the sounds replayed. The applause when Nathan raised the keys. My father's suppressed fury, my mother's pleading tone, defending the son she had never let face consequences. I tossed my purse onto a chair, went straight to the kitchen, set the kettle on, and opened my laptop. My hand moved the mouse slowly, but my mind buzzed with one clear thought. I needed to check everything, not to find mistakes, but to confirm what I had long suspected. In my email, I searched through the dealership correspondence. There it was, a confirmation of ownership transfer, sent 3 days earlier while I was in Arizona at a conference. I remembered clearly, I hadn't signed anything during that trip. Yet the attached file showed a signature with my name. I zoomed in on the scan. The signature was close, but not mine. The strokes were rounder, and the P in Phillips lacked the crossbar I always added out of habit. I called Henry immediately. It was late, but he answered after 2 rings. "What's going on, Emery?" "I think someone forged my signature to transfer ownership of the SUV." Silence for 2 beats. "Do you have the contract copy and the signature in the system?" "Yes, I just emailed it." I heard his computer booting up, then the tapping of keys. "Yeah, I see it. This is definitely suspicious. Can you verify it for me?" "Not just verify. I'll deal with the DMV first thing in the morning. Emery, how far do you want to take this?" I glanced at the clock on the wall, the hour hand between 1 and 2, ticking as slowly as the blood pulsing in my veins. I don't want a public scene, but I want to stop them. They can't just decide everything with my name on it. Henry paused, then spoke softly. "Then come to my office tomorrow at 8 a.m. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. After hanging up, I sat still in front of the screen, but almost instinctively, I opened the folder labeled Inheritance. Inside was an old email from my grandmother's personal attorney, Mr. Davis, who had retired years ago but still sent me birthday greetings each year. I scrolled to the section titled Preliminary Will of Margaret, a draft from 3 years earlier. One line froze me in place. "The house at Arrowhead Lake, along with all its associated property, I leave to my granddaughter, Emery Phillips, with the hope that it will be her place of peace whenever she needs to step away from the noise." I had read it before, but at the time, I never imagined someone could quietly alter an entire will. I picked up my phone and texted Lauren, "Do you still have Mr. Davis's number?" She replied immediately, "Yes. Do you need it urgently? What's going on?" "Urgent. I'll call you after." I had the number within a minute. I called right away. The phone rang 3 times before a deep, raspy, but still warm voice answered. "Mr. Davis, this is Emery Phillips. I don't know if you remember me." "Emery? Margaret's granddaughter?" "Yes, sir. Of course I remember. I still send you a birthday card every year. What's wrong?" I took a deep breath. "Do you still have the original will? The one from 3 years ago, before any revisions?" "Yes. A hard copy locked in my personal safe, and a digital version on a secure drive." "Is everything all right, Emery?" I looked out the window, the streetlights blurring, just like my faith in my family through the years. "I suspect someone is trying to alter it to transfer that house into my brother's name." His voice was calm but firm. "If that's the case, you need to meet me as soon as possible." "Tomorrow afternoon?" "Yes, thank you, sir." I sat at my desk, gripping a glass of cold water. My hands weren't shaking, but something deep inside my chest was trembling. It wasn't about the car. It wasn't even about the house. It was about no longer recognizing what my family was trying to do to my life. They didn't ask permission. They didn't ask my opinion. They just took. And if I didn't fight back, they would keep taking. The car was only the beginning. But the lake house, the place where I sat with my grandmother by the window every summer reading books, the place I always thought would be my refuge when the outside world became too heavy, if they managed to take that, then nothing would truly be mine. I pulled a blanket over myself and lay on the sofa with soft jazz playing, my mind wide awake. Outside the window, the city lived on busy, noisy, endless as ever. But inside, something was shifting. Something I couldn't undo and didn't want to undo. The next morning, light rain fell. I sat in Henry's office, my hands clasped under the dark wooden desk, eyes fixed on the steaming cup of coffee. The aroma couldn't mask the bitterness in my chest, but at least it kept me grounded. Outside, raindrops streaked the glass like unnamed thoughts sliding down too fast to catch. Henry sat across from me, sleeves slightly wrinkled at the elbows, eyes fixed on his computer screen. He was a man of few words, but each one carried weight. Just like when he had helped me my first year at the company, never too familiar, never too formal, always at the right time. "This signature is not legally valid," Henry said, still scanning the file. "The differences are enough for a court to demand a handwriting analysis if needed." "So they really forged it?" I wasn't asking. I was confirming. He nodded. "The signature isn't yours. And the timestamp matches when you were presenting at the conference in Phoenix. There's an official invitation, event photos, even video. They can't deny it." I nodded slightly. "So the next step?" "First, request a freeze on the transfer. The car is easier since it's still within the registration transfer period. But the lake house." He flipped to another file. "That's more complicated." I leaned forward. "Henry, if they forged my signature for the car, they could have done the same with the will. I need to be sure." I called Mr. Davis this morning, just like you asked. He confirmed that someone from your family came to see him, your mother specifically, and a man named Todd, a longtime friend of your father's. I blinked. "Todd Peterson? He was our family's accountant for more than a decade." "Yes." "They met Davis 3 months ago, bringing a so-called updated will, one leaving the house to Nathan, citing the need to provide stability for the only male heir of the family." I froze. Each word stung like a thorn. "Grandma never thought that way," I said slowly. "She always told me that house was meant for me, a place of rest, a space she believed I would need, not Nathan." "I know." Henry tapped his fingers lightly on the desk. "But the problem is, the revised version has already been notarized. To overturn it, you'll have to prove that the signature was forged, or that it was signed under improper conditions." I drew in a deep breath. "Then, I need evidence." Henry looked at me, waiting. I opened my bag and pulled out a small external hard drive. "This is from Todd's office. Melissa helped me get it. His internal camera system auto-saves footage, you just need the right date and time." Henry frowned slightly. "Melissa is?" "My deputy in financial analysis, a close friend. She used to date Todd's grandson, still had an old access card. We only went into the reception area, touched nothing else." Henry plugged in the drive. A list of video files appeared on his screen. I pointed at one. June 3rd, 2 p.m. He clicked it open. The footage was clear enough. There was my mother, her hair softly curled, wearing a navy blazer, seated at a wooden desk. Beside her sat Todd. In front of them, a legal document lay open, the corner stamped, with a law office logo. My mother held a pen, writing something, but what made my stomach turn was her hand pressing down on an ID card placed on top of a file. It wasn't hers, it was mine. "Slow this down," I said, my voice dropping. Henry did. The screen zoomed in on a Texas driver's license with my photo and name. My mother's hand covered part of it, but enough was visible to recognize. She placed it right next to the paper she was signing. Henry exhaled. "If that's a real ID, and if we can prove you never gave it to them, this is evidence of identity fraud." I said nothing. Henry turned to me, his gaze sharp. "Are you ready to take this to court?" I looked down at my hands. My nails were chipped, polish peeling at the edges. I clenched lightly. I don't want to see my mother in a courtroom. But I can't stay silent anymore. Henry nodded. Then we'll do everything by the book. Quiet, but airtight. I left Henry's office near noon. The rain had stopped, Houston streets glistening, sunlight beginning to spill across rooftops. I walked several blocks back to my office. Before stepping into the elevator, I texted Melissa. Meet at 5 p.m. at the old spot? Her reply came fast, as always. Bring the car contract too. I've got something I want you to see. I slipped my phone into my bag and stepped into the elevator, its mirror reflecting my face so clearly it stripped me bare. There was something different in my eyes. Not pain, not rage, clarity. And clarity was what people truly feared. I arranged to meet my parents and Nathan at their house on Sunday afternoon. The house I grew up in, now both familiar and foreign, every corner seeming to hold scars I had never touched. As soon as the door opened, the smell of barbecue and cinnamon candles greeted me, an attempt at forced normalcy. But my father's look when he saw me shattered any illusion. You're here, he said, voice cool. Sit. My mother came. From the kitchen, eyes already wet. She set a glass of water in front of me, then pulled out a chair. Nathan sprawled on the sofa, legs crossed on the table like nothing was worth discussing. I placed a folder on the glass table, sliding it toward them. We need to be clear. This is a copy of the car contract, along with footage from Mr. Peterson's office. I don't need to explain further, you can see exactly who signed in my place. My mother broke into tears, covering her face. I only wanted Nathan to have a better chance. He's struggled so much, been looked down on, failed again and again. You already have everything. You have a career, money, status. I thought if you gave just a little, he could finally stand up. Gave a little? I looked her in the eye. You call forging my signature giving a little? My father slammed his hand on the table, his voice echoing. Enough shouting. You may think we were wrong, but this family needs unity. If you take this to court, don't consider yourself our daughter anymore. That sentence was colder than any slap. I swallowed the tightness in my throat, forcing my face to stay composed. Nathan finally spoke, his tone indifferent, almost mocking. Why do you even need that car? You've got money. You can swap cars anytime you want. I need it to start my career. You're the older sister, you should help me. I turned to look at him. There was no gratitude in his eyes, only the kind of entitlement that assumed everything was naturally his. I stayed silent, staring straight at him. Nathan looked slightly uneasy, then laughed. You always blow things out of proportion. Haven't you always looked out for the family since we were kids? One more time won't make a difference. My mother placed her hand over mine, her voice trembling. Emery, don't make things harder for your brother. I'm begging you. I pulled my hand back, slow but firm. I don't want to make things hard. For anyone. I just want to keep what's mine. I've worked all these years not to be turned into a wallet for anyone. If this family truly loves me, then it needs to respect my boundaries. My father narrowed his eyes, a warning glint. Don't talk to me about boundaries. Have you forgotten who raised you? Without us, would you be where you are today? I held his gaze, my voice dropping low. If you're talking about raising me, I won't deny it. But everything I have now, I fought for on my own. You only remember what you gave, never the sacrifices I made that were never counted. Nathan let out a sharp laugh, tinged with mockery. There you go again, acting like a martyr. Nobody forced you. You chose to do all that, and now you're blaming us? I looked at him, my tone even but icy. You think I did everything out of choice? I did it because there was no other option. But now I have one. And I won't let anyone take anything else from me. My mother broke into louder sobs, leaning toward my father. Richard, say something. She's turning against the whole family. My father stood, glaring at me. If you walk out of here planning lawsuits or to shame this family, then don't come back. From this moment, we have nothing left to say. The air thickened. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Time seemed to slow, but inside me, a clarity I had never felt before grew stronger. I didn't argue, didn't cry, didn't kneel like in the past. I simply stood, gathered the folder, and looked directly at my parents and Nathan. I have no intention of shaming anyone. I only want the right to own my own life. If that makes you see me as a traitor, then I'm ready to accept it. I turned, not looking back. The last glimmer in my eyes carried a resolve they couldn't recognize. What had been taken, I would reclaim. Not loudly, not explosively, but certainly. On Monday morning, I filed a lawsuit at the Houston District Court. The thick stack of papers in my hands was proof of the forgery I had quietly collected. Mismatched signatures, camera footage, recordings of calls with Mr. Davis, and even internal emails from the dealership. When I signed the final page, my hand was steady. There was no fear, no guilt, only calm. That afternoon, I met Mr. Davis in his small office, walls lined with old law books and family photos. He handed me a sealed brown envelope. "This is your grandmother's original will. It was never altered. Any updates afterward are invalid without her own signature and proper witnesses." I opened the envelope. The familiar handwriting was clear. The Arrowhead Lake vacation home, along with the majority of her savings, left to me. At the bottom in her hand, a line read, "Because Emery is the only one who knows how to preserve and cherish this place." My throat tightened. I folded the document carefully and slid it back into the envelope. "Thank you. This is exactly what I needed. Emery." "Mr. Davis said, his eyes stern but warm, "You must prepare yourself. When this truth comes out, your family will fight back hard." I nodded. "I'm ready." The will reading took place at the county courthouse law office, in a bright room with a long glass-covered table. My father sat at the head, hands clasped, his face red. My mother sat close, eyes swollen but sharp. Nathan slouched in his chair, nervously fiddling with his vape pen. The court's legal representative opened the envelope, gave a brief introduction, then read aloud. His voice was steady, each word deliberate. "The entirety of the property at Arrowhead Lake, including the land and related assets, I leave to my granddaughter, Emery Phillips. Additionally, the majority of the family savings shall be managed by Emery." The room fell silent. I sat straight, my hands neatly folded on the table. My mother jumped up first. "No, that's not right. We have an updated will, one that gives the note of par." "House to Nathan." Mr. Davis spoke calmly, but firmly. "Ma'am, the update you refer to has no legal standing. It lacks the proper signature of the primary heir and shows multiple signs of tampering. The document I read is the only notarized and valid version." My father slammed his hand on the table, the sound booming. "This is a setup. Emery has trapped us just to snatch everything for herself." I met his glare without flinching. "Dad, I'm not stealing anything. This is Grandma's will. I'm just bringing it to light." Nathan shoved his chair back, standing abruptly. "And what about me? I get nothing? I've been promised for years that house would be mine." "You already have your career, your money, and I have nothing. How can you be so greedy?" I turned to him, my voice low but firm. "Nathan, greed is when someone does nothing but still believes they deserve everything. That house belonged to Grandma. It was her choice who to give it to. I'm only honoring her wishes." My mother rushed toward me, shouting through tears, "You'll destroy this family over a few acres of old land, Emery? Do you ever think about love? Do you ever think about your brother?" I drew in a deep breath, keeping my voice calm. "Mom, love cannot be built on forgery and lies. I've stayed silent too long, and that only made you all dismiss me further." If this family breaks apart, it won't be because of me, it will be because injustice was allowed to stand for years. My father stepped forward, jabbing his finger at my face. If you dare keep pursuing this case, then never come back to this house. From now on, you are no daughter of mine. I looked him straight in the eye. If being your daughter means letting you strip everything from me, then I'd rather not be your daughter at all. The room froze. No one expected me to say it, steady and unshaken. Nathan clenched his jaw, slammed his vape to the floor, and shouted, "You'll regret this." "You've ruined my life." I rose, adjusting my blazer. "No one ruined your life, Nathan. You chose your own path. I chose to protect what's rightfully mine." I nodded at the attorney, confirming the paperwork. "Mr. Davis packed the documents, his voice calm. With this valid evidence, the court will recognize the original will. There is nothing further to dispute." I walked out, my parents' shouts and Nathan's curses echoing behind me. But inside, a strange peace rose. I no longer felt like the silenced child in the corner. I had stepped into the light, and I knew nothing would ever be the same. News spread faster than I expected. Within days of the will reading, the entire extended family was buzzing. My parents called a family meeting at Uncle Harold's house, the usual gathering spot for serious occasions. I got a message from Lauren. "They're preparing to slander you in front of everyone. Are you coming?" I replied briefly, "Number?" "But listen and tell me everything." That afternoon, my phone buzzed constantly. Lauren sent secret recordings. In them, my mother's voice was sharp. "Emery has changed. She no longer values family. She dragged her own parents to court over a house and a car. We raised her, and now she turns her back, greedy and ungrateful." Then my father's deep, furious voice, "In my whole life, I've never seen a child so thankless. If she wants to cut ties, let her. But the rest of us must stay united and protect one another." Murmurs of agreement followed. A woman's voice, probably Aunt Carol, spoke up. "Emery may be successful, but too much success breeds arrogance. She thinks money matters more than family." I sat in my office, each word piercing like tiny blades into old wounds. Every accusation echoed the fears I had as a child, that if I ever spoke up, I'd be branded unfilial, that if I defended myself, I'd be called greedy. Before I could catch my breath, my phone buzzed again with dozens of social media notifications. Nathan had posted a long message with a photo of me leaving the courthouse. The headline, in bold letters, "My sister drags our whole family to court just to seize all the property. Success blinded her, and family means nothing now." Below, hundreds of comments. Some old high school friends who once admired my achievements left sneering remarks. "Emery really isn't the same anymore." Others were harsher. "Wealth wasn't enough. She had to trample her family to take everything." I held the phone until my hand went numb, my chest heavy, breath shallow. I had braced myself for backlash, but I hadn't expected to be painted as the villain so publicly. The next day at work, my colleagues' eyes were different. When I walked into the meeting room, a few people stopped talking abruptly, their faces showing clear awkwardness. I sat down, opened my laptop, but my ears still caught the whispers from the corner. "Did you read Nathan's post? Is it true? She's talented, but taking her whole family to court." Melissa walked in and slammed a stack of files onto the table. "Enough. Stop talking behind her back." She glanced around, her stare so sharp that everyone went silent. Then she sat beside me, lowering her voice. "Emery, they're just being thoughtless. Don't let it get to you." I pressed my lips together, sipping water to steady myself. "But Melissa, when colleagues doubt me, my credibility shakes. In my position, even the smallest crack is enough for judgment." She squeezed my hand under the table. "We'll handle it. Let them talk today. Once the truth comes out, they'll be the ones ashamed." I nodded, though the weight in my chest didn't ease. Messages from business partners began to arrive too. We hope personal matters won't affect the project. Or, if you need to prove stability, let us know. I could see the storm building not just within my family, but over the career I had spent years constructing. That evening, I sat in my apartment, staring out at the glowing city. My phone buzzed nonstop with notifications. For a moment, I wanted to shut it all off, disappear for a few days. But then my grandmother's voice echoed back her warm tone, saying, "Emery, never let anyone decide for you what you deserve." I closed my eyes. I couldn't run. I had to face this not only to keep the house, but to protect my own name. Right then, Melissa called. Her voice was clear and firm. "Emery, do you have a plan yet? If not, they'll keep spinning the story their way. You need to take back your voice." I sat up straighter, my heartbeat quickening, but not from fear this time. "You're right, Melissa. It's time I stopped just defending. I have to fight back." On the other end, I heard her exhale in relief. "Good. Then tomorrow we start." I set the phone down, my hand tightening into a fist. Out there, they were trying to paint me as greedy, as unfilial, but I would show them truth could never be twisted forever. The corporation's spring conference was held at the largest hotel in downtown Houston. Crystal chandeliers blazed overhead, LED screens stretched wide, and hundreds of partners, investors, and reporters gathered. I waited backstage, my hand resting on the thick file I had prepared for weeks. Melissa adjusted the mic on my lapel, whispering, "You ready?" I nodded. "I am. This is the moment." The CEO stepped to the podium, gave a brief introduction of the new project, then invited me out. Applause thundered as I walked onto the stage. From the front row, I spotted my parents and Nathan. Their faces were tense, clearly uncertain what I was about to do. I took the microphone, my voice steady in the vast hall. "Today, I am honored to announce a major turning point in our company's training and development strategy. We have officially signed an agreement to convert the Arrowhead Lake Vacation Home into a dedicated training center for management teams and community research projects." Hundreds of eyes locked on me. I paused a beat, then continued. "This facility is funded by the Highland Education Fund, valued at over $12 million. All legal procedures, ownership papers, and notarized documents have been completed. This will be a project that both preserves family legacy and serves the community." On the giant screen behind me, images of the lakeside house appeared alongside the corporation's and Highlands logos. Applause roared, cameras flashing non-stop. I glanced at the front row. My father's face was rigid. My mother's hand covered her mouth, her eyes wide. Nathan slumped back, pale as paper. I went on, my tone still calm but edged with resolve. "Many thought this house was just an asset to bargain over. The truth is, it was mine, under my grandmother's original will. And today, protected by law and secured contracts, no one can dispute it." The hall buzzed with heat. I bowed and left the stage to another wave of applause. Melissa met me backstage, gripping my hand tightly. "Brilliant. Now they have nowhere to run." But the reversal didn't end there. After the announcement, the press room opened for questions. A reporter raised a hand. "Miss Phillips, recently there have been rumors online about your family disputing assets. Do you have any comment?" I looked straight into the cameras. Every family has conflicts, but truth comes with documents. I trust the public to distinguish official records from rumors. Another voice asked, "We've received documents indicating a credit card in your name was misused, with a debt of over $40,000. Can you confirm this?" The room erupted in murmurs. I gripped the mic, casting a glance at Nathan. He kept his head down, sweat beading on his forehead. I turned back, my voice firm. "Yes. A secondary card issued under my name years ago was used without my authorization. I have submitted evidence to the bank and the court. The person responsible is my brother, Nathan Phillips. Gasps spread through the hall. Reporters scribbled furiously. I continued. The debt has been verified and the case is under review. I chose to reveal it today because I have nothing to hide. Transparency is the lifeblood of finance. The room exploded with noise. Cameras swung toward Nathan. He shot up, shouting hoarsely, "She's lying! She set me up!" My mother clutched his arm, pulling him back, but too late. Everyone had heard, had seen. My father leaned toward him, his face red, muttering something lost in the roar. I set the mic down and stepped off stage. Henry, my attorney, was waiting in the hallway. He nodded. "You just shut every exit they had. That project is airtight, and Nathan can't deny his debt anymore." I let out a long breath, my shoulders lighter. Inside, I felt no gloating, only the clarity I had craved for so long. I didn't need to shout, didn't need to cry. I just needed the truth, and today the truth had spoken for me. Behind me, applause and chatter carried on. But the sound I heard most clearly was the stillness in my own heart, no longer burdened by doubt. I had done what I needed, and from here, everything had to change. After the conference, the storm began to quiet, but in my family, the distance grew sharper. News of Nathan's credit card debt spread across local papers. Some criticized, others shook their heads in pity, and old friends began drifting away. As for me, I was suddenly seen as someone who dared to face things head-on, who valued transparency. A week later, my parents called me home for a talk. I stood before the familiar wooden door, heavy with dread, but stepped inside anyway. My mother sat waiting in the living room, her eyes swollen. My father stood by the fireplace, stern but weary. Nathan wasn't there, I guessed he was avoiding me. "Emery," my mother began, her voice shaking. "You've taken things too far, but no matter what, you're still my daughter." I sat across from her, steady. "Mom, I've never denied that. I still love this family. But love doesn't mean being used. Family isn't a free pass to take everything from me without asking." My father's grip tightened on the chair. "You've humiliated us in front of the world. Do you realize that?" I kept my voice calm. "I only acted within the law. You humiliated yourselves by forging my signature, by enabling Nathan to use my credit card. Who do you think the world really sees as guilty?" Silence stretched. The ticking clock filled the room. Finally, my mother sobbed. "I just wanted peace. Nathan is fragile, he needs support. I didn't want to watch him fail again." I answered gently but firmly. "The more you shield him, the less he'll grow. I can't keep parenting him under the guise of family loyalty. He has to face his own choices." My father no longer barked. He sat, covering his face with both hands. Maybe I was wrong to think I could control everything. I looked at them both, my heart heavy yet resolute. "I'll still visit, still call, but only if respect comes first. If there are more schemes or demands, I'll leave immediately." After that talk, I drove back to my apartment. On the way, my phone buzzed with news. Nathan had just taken his first real job at a transport company. I exhaled. At last, he had to stand on his own, even if late. In the months that followed, my parents eased off. They stopped calling with absurd requests, stopped pushing the idea of sharing. When I visited, they spoke less, eyes tired but with less resistance. Maybe they hadn't accepted fully, but at least they were beginning to realize I could no longer be controlled. One afternoon, I drove the company car, now shining with the corporation's logo, to the Arrowhead House. The training center was under renovation, workers bustling. I stepped into the room where I once read books with Grandma, the window still opening to the glittering lake. I smiled softly, feeling her presence, approving of my choice. On the way back, I parked by the shore for a few minutes. Cool wind brushed my face, carrying the scent of pine and the sound of waves lapping. I looked into the rearview mirror, seeing my reflection grow smaller, the past fading behind me. I whispered, as if promising myself, Success isn't measured by what you buy, but by what you protect that is rightfully yours. I started the engine, letting the road ahead open wide, clear, and free of burdens. I don't know about others, but for me, this journey was never about winning or losing. It was about learning to stand tall among those who claim to love me, learning to speak without guilt, learning to say enough without bowing my head. I still love my family. I just don't accept love that comes with conditions. And I no longer accept a bond built on silence, sacrifice, and erased boundaries. And you, if you were in my place, where family ties became an excuse for control and theft, would you stay silent or would you stand up? I'd love to hear your thoughts after listening to this story. Leave a comment below, share if you've lived something similar, or what you'd say to people like me who are reclaiming their own lives. And if you want more stories that dive into the truths of family, love, and the fragile line between care and exploitation, don't forget to follow this channel. I'll keep sharing not just my story, but real slices of life from so many who quietly endure things the world rarely sees. Thank you for listening. We'll meet again.